call of the Hawks can be heard all the way to San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday, and welcome back to the Pod at the Palace. I'm your host, Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Hope the weekend's going well for everyone. Maybe you're enjoying a little bit of break from the heat, at least if you're up in my neck of the woods in Arkansas. It's been kind of nice to get away from the 110-degree weather that we've been having the last week or two here. It's a good thing for the football team, too, honestly. Like, you start fall camp, and I know they're practicing a little bit early, but they can get broken in a little bit here as opposed to being out there in the crazy heat indexes and everything as they get, strapping up the full pads and all that over the course of the next couple of days. Be a nice, smooth acclimation period for those guys, and they should be fine. They'll be practicing in the afternoons later in camp and everything, so they'll be ready for those 3 p.m., August and early September kickoffs the first couple weeks. I wouldn't worry about them too much. Basketball, though, it's played inside. How about that? You don't have to worry about it. Everything's temperature controlled. We're usually just worried about, do we have to navigate through ice or snow to get from our parking spots to Bud Walton Arena to watch a game? So anyway, quick episode for you guys here to wrap up the weekend. What I want to do today is really just based on everything that I've seen and heard from start to finish this summer is hit you with my 3 biggest takeaways and 3 unanswered questions that I still have as we just, we kind of are impatiently just kicking the can down the road a couple more weeks until the squad's back on campus and they get rolling for the season ahead. So should be a fun show. We'll hop into it. But first, got to tell you guys about our partners, the sponsors for today's show, Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas. We're going to be out there August 13th doing a show Inside Arkansas live from the marina from a boat. We'll see how that works. Should be a lot of fun. Probably, maybe, we'll see. Jury's still out. Could be the coolest thing that we've done so far in terms of all the crazy places that we've been out and done some of our shows. But the reason we're out there, well, it's summer. It's here. And where's a better place to spend it than out on the lake? You don't own a boat. It's okay. You don't have to, because Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas has you covered, giving you access to the boats without the commitment. It's boating that fits your lifestyle. It's fun, it's flexible, and it's stress-free. They take care of the boat so you can just simply enjoy the moment. They've got 3 locations in Arkansas, making lake time closer than you think. Whether you prefer Greers Ferry Lake, Lake Hamilton, or just a day out on the river in Little Rock, Freedom Boat Club of Arkansas will make your summer in the natural state the best one yet. Check out their website, www.freedomboatclubar.com today to learn more about the benefits of joining the club, or scan that QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen. All right, so let's jump into this right away here today. My 3 biggest takeaways from the summer. Of course, Arkansas just completed their, 8 weeks, 8 hours per week, 4 of those being on the floor with the coaching staff, summer practice session, summer workouts, training camp, whatever you want to call it. That's what Muss used to call it, training camp. And then they pick things back up on August 18th when the fall semester starts. It'll kind of be the same idea. They'll get 8 hours per week. Half of it will be kind of strength and conditioning stuff. The other half will be out there on the floor with the coaches. And then once you get to, mid to late September, is when they really get to ramp things up. They got 20 hours per week, and it's like full practice getting rolling for the season ahead. So my number 1 takeaway from the summer, it's that Trevon Brazile is serious, folks. And listen, I'm not naive to how some people out there feel. Like, I know that I've talked about this in the past, and it's been met with some skepticism. I've heard a bunch of folks in the comments, doing the, well, I've heard that before, or about darn time, whatever thing with Trevon. And that's fine. I understand. I do. I just hope that you'll hear me out. Like, if you're in that camp, I want you to understand the context of what I'm saying here. And also just give me a little bit of credit or benefit of the doubt as a ball knower. Can we do that, please? I remember the conversations on this show in the spring. I didn't forget them. I haven't forgotten how I felt during portal season. Why is John Calipari not pursuing any 4s in the roster? Trevon's the only one that you have on the roster. Man, it's risky just to hand him the keys to the spot based on 10 games at the end of last season, as good as he looked. Are they really trying to protect his feelings or keep him on track mentally? I go, what's going on here? Like, they're not even going to try to get him some kind of platoon help. Are they crazy? All those things were concerns that I had. Well, what John Calipari and the coaching staff knew at that time that I didn't was that Trevon Brazile has leveled up. He has. He has. And yes, we get excited about Trevon every single year. I understand that. He's going into his 4th year at Arkansas, and every single season it's been, man, can't wait for TB. And then to a degree, every single season we've been left with, more to be desired. And a lot of that's been because of injury, and that's out of his control. Last year was more about opportunity, right? I mean, you're playing behind the one guy who got drafted on the team. That's tough. And it took him a while to find his way. When he did, boy, he looked good. But why do we always get this way about Trevon in an offseason or in a preseason? It's because of his athleticism, his ability to knock down threes at 6'10", 6'11", and just that hope that, okay, he's going to be healthy and it's finally going to click for him. He's always had the high ceiling. He's always had the potential. All of those things are still valid. They are, and that's part of it. But what I can tell you from my own eyes I've watched Trevon Brazile since he was a sophomore in high school at Springfield, Missouri, when I was scouting for prep hoops, all the way through today. And what I can tell you is right now that he's playing and carrying himself like a completely different person than he ever has. He's doing things on the floor right now that he has never done. Okay, I'm trust me. This isn't just cool. He's confident now in the summer, or glad he's playing aggressive. I guess he's trying to be an attack dog or whatever. It's not just about that, and those things are true. But he has improved and expanded his game. I was blown away at that practice with Trevon's comfort off the bounce. And it's crazy because you go back 2-3 years and, he asked Eric Musselman, okay, what is the next evolution, the next step in the process for Trevon? And what was he always saying? Well, it's his off the bounce game. It's his off the dribble game. And then we would see it, and they were trying to play him as a wing and everything else. And he was 2 dribbles middle, pick it up, get rid of it. Was just not comfortable putting on the deck. And it really wasn't a part of his game. It was almost like they were forcing it on him. And now he's found it. And the only way that can be possible is because of work and reps and effort. Taking guys off the dribble from the perimeter, bouncing it. Malik Ewan had nothing for him at that practice. Nothing for him. Couldn't guard him. Couldn't keep him in front. You can say, well, what does that say about Malik Ewan's defense? Well, that's a fair question. And we'll see what that looks like. Hopefully he's not defending too many guys like Trevon Brazile on the perimeter next season. Carter Knox, a wing, a guy who wound up being a really, really good wing defender for Arkansas, couldn't keep Trevon in front. Had nothing for him. Struggled with his length. Trevon was getting deep on him. TB had the look of a guy who I feel like has had the realization he's got 1 year left. 1 year left to prove himself, if he's going to have the type of basketball career or future that he dreamed of. And then I think about Cal, and he's a player's coach for sure. He's not going to say the things that he said about Trevon Brazile unless he means it, unless he feels it. And even if he was going to do that, even if if there was some cap involved, he wouldn't be doing it and not having a backup plan. There is a reason why they have put so much stock in Trevon Brazile, and it's because the stock is very much on the rise. Straight from Cal's mouth is that TB, he's good for it. He's a dude. And it's about finding out who his co-star is going to be. Like, they're sure on Trevon. Risky, I get it. So, feel free to proceed with caution. I understand. I don't blame you. And I'm not going to be going nuts with my expectation. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, he's going to be a lottery pick, SEC player of the year. No, I'm not going to be doing all that. You never know how things are going to play out. But what I can tell you, I can promise all of you listening, is that Trevon Brazile right now, today, is the best version of himself that we have seen physically, mentally, and as a basketball player. And I think it's a big deal that looms very, very large for Arkansas, because with the way the roster is constructed, you're going to need him to be that guy. And he looks the part right now. Long way to go. Was a huge takeaway of mine. Not just that he picked up where he left off from the end of last season, but he's gotten better. My second biggest takeaway from the summer, it centers around 2 guys who, speaking of getting better, are both better than I thought they were. And that's increased my confidence level in this team and what it's capable of doing this season, to tell you the truth. One name I've talked about a lot this summer, one name I probably haven't talked about enough. And it's freshman guard Isaiah Sealy and transfer big man Nick Pringle. So, with Sealy, from the time he signed in the fall, really until they moved onto campus, I felt like he was going to be a year 2 guy. I've always been high about his potential, but maybe not right away. Maybe the 10th or 11th man, he's going to get some run every now and then, but not a real part of the rotation. His best basketball is going to be ahead of him. From the day the team arrived on campus and started summer workouts, stuff started trickling out of that practice facility. Oh, this Isaiah, this dude, he's better than we thought. Oh no, this dude can play. And Cal's talked him up, spoken super highly of him as a guy who does things that he can't teach. And he's also said, hey, he's got to learn how to play with, without the ball and everything like that. Yes, of course, he's not a finished product, all right? But he looked very, very good at the practice we went to. And it wasn't just, I thought this guy sucked and he's okay. No, I've always thought he was pretty good, but he is further along than I thought he was. So I think the best way that I can describe it with Sealy from my own eyes is, if we were just watching these guys play basketball for the first time, not knowing who they were or what their expectations are. You just walk in, they're all wearing t-shirts. You're not familiar with their faces. You don't know anything about them. I absolutely would have walked out of that gym saying, man, that kid's going to play for him. That dude can help him. That's how I feel about Isaiah. Now, is he going to be like the Reed Shepherd breakout out of nowhere surprise type of guy? I don't know about all that. So I don't want to get carried away here. It would be sweet if he was. I think he's going to be better year 2 with a bigger role for sure. But Isaiah Sealy has almost single-handedly become the reason why I've eased my frustration on depth for this roster, because he can and will absolutely provide it. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I'm really excited about Isaiah Sealy. And I think it's going to happen sooner than I initially thought. With Nick Pringle, a lot of times a 5th-year guy kind of is what he is. And that's okay. That can be a very good thing. That's how I felt with Nick. You know what you're going to get with him. A guy who, hey, listen, he directly solves a huge issue that you had last season, which was interior toughness and physicality, rebounding, gives you an edge maybe that you didn't have at times a year ago. And he is everything I expected him to be from that standpoint. But I also think he's a better offensive player than I thought and gave him credit for. Really good lob threat, dump off finisher. He's a little more comfortable with the ball in his hands than I thought. He's still not going to be out there shooting threes, but I will say I saw him make several jumpers at practice that I didn't think he could do. And I know that they're really pushing him. His, get comfortable being uncomfortable thing is, hey, we really want you to be willing to take that shot, be willing to put it on the deck because he's so strong. And that's one thing that impressed me at the practice, catching in the high post or maybe turning the corner on a dribble handoff, is he's just so powerful and so strong. 1 to 2 dribbles and he's getting to the rim and he can just finish through guys because he's just stronger than they are. And that's something he hasn't done a whole lot of, and throughout the course of his career that they're working on with him now. And that's only going to help him. It's only going to make him better. It's only going to make the team better. I also think he's just, and this is another thing that I just wasn't sure about, honestly. He's going to be a major, major glue guy for this team. And it's going to be by example with how hard he plays and everything like that. But he was just super impressive on the microphone, a big personality, and it's going to be fun. Every time we get the opportunity to talk to him, I kind of hope they bring him to SEC Media Day. I don't know. I would imagine DJ is going to go for sure. And then maybe it's Carter or Billy, but like Trevon has already been in the past. Nick Pringle was there last year for South Carolina. So we'll see what they wind up doing there. Anyway, I can tell that Nick Pringle has really grown from the guy we knew at Alabama a couple years ago, and he's going to be an asset in that locker room. It's a voice that's going to resonate in there for sure, and he's going to command some respect, which is good, and he's going to handle it the right way. I really was blown away with his maturity, which is not something I expected. And they're very, very different players, and it's why I think they complement each other very well. But it's also going to depend, I think, on what the staff values more. But I went from seeing, Nick Pringle as, just the platoon backup center type, whatever, going to be fine. Nice piece to have. To a guy I think he's good enough with the things that he does really well to challenge Malik Ewan. And he's also someone who's better equipped to play the 4 defensively than I thought he was. And so I think that's going to lead to him having maybe more minutes than I thought he was. Because I was kind of looking at him thinking, I don't know, like 15 minutes a game or whatever. But I could see that being up to 20 or more, especially if he can play multiple positions. So we'll see. But really, really pleased with that addition. Just a under the radar portal dub for John Calipari. So definitely been a big takeaway of mine and a pleasant surprise. The last takeaway I have, and I'll be quick here because we want to move forward. This team is just bigger than advertised. And it's something that really stood out to me when I was eagle-eyeing those dudes at Baum Walker, when they were walking around during the regional and the super. And then obviously when we were there up close and in person at that practice, I wouldn't say I was concerned about it, but it was one thing I wondered with certain guys, like, is size going to be an issue at this position? Is versatility going to be impacted compared to last year because of those limitations? And I just don't feel that way anymore. That's good. Sometimes you just need to see him. Like, for example, Darius Acuff. He is taller than he's been given credit for in high school, and he's just absolutely jacked. He looks like an upperclassman, his body. And that's why he's a projected first-round pick. Now, I have zero concerns about him physically in the SEC. And there was a time there where I was like, oh, is he like 6'1"? And I don't know. No, he's bigger than that. Malik Thomas is the main one for me. He's at least 2 inches taller, maybe more than I was led to believe. Yeah, this dude's pushing 6'5" as opposed to 6'3". It just gives him more versatility than when I was thinking he'd be kind of boxed in at the 2. Because I feel like those league guard minutes they're all going to be gobbled up by DJ and Darius Acuff. So with Leak, I was like, all right, we really think that this dude's going to be out there and be able to defend SEC threes? I don't know. He's probably just going to have to play at the 2. What's that going to mean for his minutes? And now I feel comfortable with him taking a slice of that pie at the 3 if he needs to. I think it's going to help him to play more. Now he's got to add weight, but he does have a bigger frame than I thought he did. Broad shoulders, kind of reminds me of Nick Smith Jr. from that standpoint. Big lower half. Like, he's got huge calves. Looks like a soccer player. And that's usually a good barometer of you're going to be able to add weight, put on some weight in those shoulders and everything. But from a height length perspective, further along than I thought he was. Isaiah Sealy has good size. It's not the classic, oh, this kid's he's 6'5", but we're going to list him at 6'7" because this is Arkansas high school basketball and we're gassing up the roster. No, it's legit. And 2 guys who probably needed to add a little bit of weight and strength, they have. Like Billy Richmond looks bigger, looks stronger. He looks good. Trevon Brazil, that was one of the first things when I walked in the gym and saw Trevon. I was like, holy cow, this dude has definitely added some weight. He's added 10 pounds of muscle. He looks good. Nick Pringle and Malik Ewan, we knew that they were grown-ass men, but like you add in the 2 big fellas here in a couple weeks, and all of a sudden, this is an Arkansas team. I think they're going to have the positional size and versatility I wasn't 100% sure about, and they're going to be one of the largest, just in general, Razorback teams I think we've seen in a long time. In fact, I think I'm going to do the math on that, because they're going to be huge. I'm looking forward to it. So those are some of my biggest takeaways from the summer. And before we get into the 3 questions that I still have that are left unanswered, got to remind you about our partners over at Basis Health, changing the way that healthcare is delivered with their mobile medical services. Sometimes if you're feeling sick, crummy, you got a fever, you're down bad with something, it's tough to be able to get into the car, drive across town, and the last thing you would do is sit in a waiting room with a bunch of other sick people before you see the doctor. Well, Basis Health can take all that out of the equation. They'll come directly to you. For primary care, urgent care, IV hydration, and more, Basis Health will send a physician to your front door to take care of all your healthcare needs. Check them out today, www.basishealth.org, or check out the QR code in the top right-hand corner of your screen to get more information today. So, moving on to the 3 unanswered questions that I have following summer workouts. And please don't misconstrue these things. I'm begging you not to do that in the comments, right? I'm not saying that these are negatives or major red flags or anything like that. Just 3 things that I'm not sure about, curious about, that I don't have a read on just yet. And the first one here is very, very obvious. What type of impact can Paolo Simido and Elmer Zafic have on this team? We don't know for certain because they weren't here for summer. They weren't able to, they were late commits in June and weren't able to get all the paperwork and everything in and enrolled before the second summer session. So they weren't here. Now they're going to be behind the 8 ball out of the gates. When they come back, they're 8 weeks behind everybody else. So that factors into this. But I mean, they're going to have 3 months to get caught up, acclimated, familiarized before the season. And they'll be here when official practices begin. So plenty of time. Now, of course, answering this question, I think is really going to tell us how deep Arkansas is. I think at this point, we all feel super comfortable out to 9. So you want to stay healthy, all the same things that applied last year apply now. And I think we also feel significantly better without having seen them about what these 2 guys can add in terms of compared to what you had at the, at these numbers last year, your 10th, 11th men. Who was that a year ago, right? You really didn't have them. So there's that. And I'm bullish on Paolo's potential to emerge and be a factor for Arkansas at some point this season. I think that's going to happen, but I haven't seen him yet. I don't know for sure. And with Elmer, it's certainly valid, I think, to be skeptical about, the athleticism, the lateral movement. What is that going to look like early on in the SEC? Pretty big adjustment that he's going to have to make. But as big as he is, he's been playing against grown men. Could he even be a here and there, a short minute insert to move bodies in the paint, play an enforcer role, foul somebody, grab some rebounds, anything like that? Is he a guy that you would feel comfortable, let's say, knock on wood, you have one guy who's sick and one guy who's foul trouble in the front court? And it's like, all right, do we go super small? We're just playing Trevon at the 5 the whole game? Or is Elmer a guy that we can put in there if we need some physicality? We'll see. The jury's going to be out on that for a while. Kenny Payne, this is your time to shine, my friend. The second unanswered question that I have, it's obvious. It's 3-point shooting. And I really do think that this team could be a little bit better percentage-wise from last season. They shot at 32.7% last year. Not good, but there have been several Arkansas teams recently here that have shot worse, in fairness. I could see this being a 33.5 to 34% team. And it doesn't sound like a lot, but it is. It certainly matters. That would put a middle of the pack, like the average 3-point shooting team. And I would take that because I think they're going to be above average at pretty much everything else offensively. So I just don't know that for sure. And I'm also not sure about the volume just yet because that factors into this as well. So it's cool if they get up to 34% or so from 3, you feel good about it, but they're still just making 6, 7 a game. Yeah, well, how much does that really help you? Can they get that up to 8 or higher? We'll see. Early in that practice that we were at, it was kind of rough, if I'm being fully transparent. Because I remember like 2-3 minutes in, I was watching John film across the gym, and I'm thinking, damn, man, we might have to edit this a little bit for the highlights. And there's some misses that were in there and everything like that. We wound up not having to touch it. But early, I was thinking, good grief, these dudes can't shoot at all. But, and this is more important, once they started going live and getting up and down, and within the flow of their offense or what it was that they were trying to do and getting kickouts and, driving kick opportunities and stuff like that, they were knocking them down at a pretty good clip. So I wound up walking out of there going, there's some potential there. Your returners should all make some strides. They've been in the gym. How large? Right? So it's DJ shot it really, really well all summer by most accounts. Cal even said it himself. Will that actually translate? What does that look like for him? We know that Trevon can shoot it. Is he going to give you enough volume for it to really move the needle? I think he's going to, but I don't know that for sure. Can the 3-pointer be any sort of a part of Billy's game? I know they've really, really challenged him from that standpoint, and he's definitely a better shooter than he was his freshman season. is it going to translate enough to where that's something you want him to do and want him to be able to rely on in games? It's like Cal said, if he's knocking down just catch and shoot threes at a reasonable percentage, nobody's going to be able to guard him because he'll blow right by him. If you have to close out hard on Billy Richmond, he is going to get to the rim on you every single time. Can Malik Thomas be more consistent than streaky? What will it look like for a freshman Darius Acuff? Will they allow Malik Ewan, or is he comfortable adding the three ball to his arsenal in games? Because it sure looked good to me in practice. He's played a lot of college basketball and it just hasn't been a thing for him. Will Isaiah Sealy play enough to make his mark as a three-point shooter? Because he's a guy that can really knock it down. So there's just questions there. It doesn't mean that I think that they're going to stink at, shooting threes. I'm super, super worried about it. I actually think there's potential, but I just haven't seen enough yet. Obviously, we were out there for an hour, and then the rest of it's just based off kind of what you hear and what you project. So the last unanswered question for me that will, I don't think, be answered probably until, around that Thanksgiving game against Duke or so, is how the Darius Acuff, DJ Wagner dynamic is going to look on the floor in the backcourt. What is that going to look like? The answer to the last question, probably three-point shooting, is going to impact this for sure. For those guys, the better they are, the more consistent they are, the better this is going to work. I still share the belief that they're going to start together at the 1 and 2. So we'll see what that looks like. Both of them are modern lead guards. Like, hey, put the rock in my hands, and they have scoring mindsets. So which of them, if either or both, are going to take on that role of initiator, distributor, playmaker to keep things flowing in the offense? I think it's a fair question, and we'll just have to see. Will Darius Acuff accept the challenge defensively against fellow future NBA guards that he's going to be tasked with, assigned with throughout the course of the season? It was clunky last year with Boogie and DJ. We watched Arkansas, and it wasn't just against the good teams. It was against the teams that they should have just been beating the hell out of, and the offense just looked, ugh. It just didn't feel good, didn't feel right. Well, in fairness, Cal warned us about that over and over and over. Hey, November, December, not going to look great all the time, and we're going to be better. We're going to get better. And he was right about that. But I really look at it, I guess I'm of the belief that the early issues were more because of all the injuries, the lack of scrimmage time, and just like a lack of chemistry and continuity with this new team out there throughout the roster, as opposed to it being a weird fit between DJ and Boogie, if that makes sense. In fact, I thought that it looked better in the NCAA tournament when Boogie came back, and that was after he had missed 2 months. And that was probably because the team around him had clicked. And so I'm very interested to see how quickly these two guys can find a rhythm playing with each other. If, knock on wood, you stay healthy, these guys throughout the course of the preseason. And then also when you take into account the continuity. Now, you could say, well, Acuff hasn't played with any of these guys, but DJ, Billy, Carter, Trevon, all those guys are out there on the floor together. It's easier to find a rhythm with your teammates when they have rhythm with each other already. As opposed to last year, which you had DJ and Adu who were comfortable playing together, and you could throw Big Z in there, but he played half the season. He was in and out of the rotation. A lot of learning that was still going on with him. It was really just a couple guys. Most of that roster didn't have any familiarity with each other. Some of the key guys didn't get it during the summer because they were hurt. And then every time you started to find something, somebody else would get injured. You kind of had to reinvent the wheel so many times throughout the course of the season. It's why I think it was one of Calipari's better coaching jobs from an X's and O's standpoint that he did. But it would just be nice if you didn't have to deal with any of those obstacles and you could get rolling a little bit earlier. They're going to need to with the non-conference schedule that they're playing. So I think it's going to be a very important thing to watch with this dynamic in the backcourt, and not overly concerned about it, more intrigued and excited to see how it's all going to play out. So there you have it. 3 biggest summer takeaways, 3 unanswered questions that remain, and I'm out of here for the day. We'll be back with a little weekend whip around tomorrow morning, although, man, there's just really not a whole lot going on, so we might have to dig deep. We'll see. We're going to have an episode for sure. I like doing the weekend rip arounds on the Monday mornings. But that's when there's news to whip around to. So we might continue to get creative with our topics. We'll see what it looks like between now and then. Still got 24 hours to figure it out. But I'm out. Appreciate you guys as always for rocking with us. We did the 1-year anniversary thing yesterday and shared a bunch of memories and everything. It was really cool. So one more thank you to you guys. And then for the 40 some odd % of you that listen regularly, that haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you're watching right now, you're listening right now, click that button for us. Go ahead. It's free. It helps us. It doesn't hurt you. We'd appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. We ride it down the pot, the palace. It's been Curtis Wilkerson with Inside Arkansas. Y'all have a good day. We'll see you in the morning.